Man, the country we live in today, people don't want to change. People don't believe us. People don't understand the time, the grind, the hustle that we do. It's wild. They just don't see it. They only want to show up when you get heavy, when you roll big deep, when you rock a Range Rover, then they want to jump in. Other than that, it's crazy. They're not even interested. They're just not visionaries. They just don't get it, you know? It's wild. It's wild. Oh, that's her calling. Hello?
Where are you? I've been waiting for like 30 minutes. We're so late.
I used all 553 pound-feet of torque to get here. Come on down. I've been waiting for you for 20 minutes.
Just don't understand why you're always late. Honestly, Michael. So unreliable.
What is up, Internet world, and welcome back to Accelerate. My name is Mike, and the man behind the camera is Ian, and today we're bringing the 2023 V8 Range Rover Sport. So now for the real thing. We have a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 that makes 523 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. I'm in dynamic. It's supposed to go to 60 in about 4.4 seconds, which is ironic because it is a 4.4 liter. My foot is all the way down on the brake. On the throttle, big with the power, and go. Quick. And we got 4.83. Now I do have winters and these are 23s, so it's a lot of rolling resistance. S instead of D this time. Creates boost with the ground, takes a lot of power here, and go. Oh, a bit better. Oh, dynamic launch activated. What do we got? What do we got? 4.23? Are you for real? Hold on, look at this thing. 4.23. So right here in North America, you get 4 different engine choices, / P this, P that. But anyways, the real deal is, what do we get? We get 2 mild hybrid motors. You get 1 plug-in hybrid, not 2 in North America. We skip the 510e, and then you get the V8 right here. To the front of the 3rd generation, all new Range Rover Sport. So they've definitely tightened up this headlight. It's skinnier, it's narrower, it's got individual LEDs, it's got 4 of them. It's different than the full size. The full size is more squared out, and you have this sort of box design with a hollow center. In this case, it's just one singular line that stops and then continues again, just like Mike Tyson did back in the 90s. Now moving from there, you've got a thinner grille, you've got the Range Rover in black on the top of the hood there, love it. And then you have, of course, the Land Rover in green, which is pretty iconic. And then moving down, you have another small center grille that does have Parktronic sensors, it does have a front-facing camera, and this is all hollow for some airflow into the engine. And moving down from there, you have this lower skirting that has some flair to it, and this piano black trim that stretches sort of in the middle from end to end. But there's something unique here. On this side here, they do have this, what appears to have some venting, but it's actually closed. But on that side, it has the same thing, but it actually has little flaps to open up for more airflow. To the side, if you were ever wondering how much you can raise your air suspension, well, you can raise it in the standard suspension 11 inches. That is cool. From here to here, 11 inches. And you can wade through almost 36 inches of water. You normally get 23-inch wheels, but because these are winters, these are 22s. And it is an entry-exit mode, so it's as low as humanly possible. Again, this looks very similar to the last generation. You have all this fancy stuff. There's some slight changes, but overall, it's still very pretty. I love that they've kept the side. They haven't changed much to it. They have changed something though. These handles, these are from the full size. They are flush, they go in and they come out. Let me show you. They really emphasize the two-tone vibes here. It's all piano black up top and then body colored on the bottom. And when you look at the doors itself, they sort of wrap around right to the glass, which means there's no molding. You see, most vehicles you see, they always have that molding or that plastic trim that goes around the doors to hide the screws and make it easy to put the windows in. But here, you don't have that. It's very clean, very flush. And just like the new Volvo EX90 that Volvo brags about, you have the same thing here. It's very flush. There's no bump out on this pillar. And even when you come to the back where this rear window is, it is also pretty much trim free. That's really where Range Rover excels, this sort of vibe. It's futuristic, but uses all the same traditional designs that they can. Now, when you come to the back here, it is a bit velourish, but hey, I'll give it a pass because when you see the rear end, you're gonna fall in love. To the back of the all-new Range Rover Sport. Now, if you're curious to know how much it tows, well, it depends on the engine you get. The base one is 5,500 pounds, then you have 7,700 pounds, and then you can tow 8,200 pounds, but this V8 can tow 7,700 pounds. That's for the towing folk out there. Everyone else, like me, is all about design. You have this monster, huge rear upper spoiler that houses my favorite, a wiper. And then you have two little fins on top, one with a camera and one without. And that's odd to see, but we saw that first in the full-size range. Now I know I'm going from the bottom to the top and then back down again, but I don't want to forget about this translucent third brake light. Ian doesn't care about third brake lights, but I do, because I hate them when they're red and I like them when they're clear. And then moving down from there, you have this beautiful strip of piano black that houses the letters Range Rover. And then you have Sport on one side and then Land Rover the other. And you might be asking yourself, but how are all my friends going to know that I spent the money on the V8? Because there's no badge on the back that says these complicated letters and numbers. P400, P440E, P510E, P580. Like, what's up with that? The most important piece that all your buddies need to know are these things. Yes, exhausts. Front seat of the all-new Range Rover Sport. Now, I go pretty in-depth about this door panel in the back seat because it's so impressive to have this door panel in the back seat. And this is full all-seat. Generally, you have plastic up the sides and then a little bit of seat cushion. This is pretty much all seat cushion. These seats are built for a king. Oh, so cool. Now, these seats are heated and ventilated. They're 22-way adjustable and they have winged headrests. It's like going on an airplane and you just wing it out when you forget your neck pillow and you're like this. Excuse me for a second while I rise up and see my heads-up display. So, Meridian sound system, 29 speakers in this bad boy, and 19 speakers standard. Definitely a bit less or a bit more like slanted than the full size. It's very similar to the full size, but this feels a bit more engaging and less, I don't say luxury, but it's more tilted. It's not more squared up. Okay. Nice big driver's display for me. Exactly the same as the full size. Big, clean. The clarity here is really, really nice. I love how they have the dark chrome all the way around the vehicle. Again, from the door panels all the way up through all the vents. And it's a clear, clean vent all the way down with this overhang of this leather or imitation leather, sustainable leather overwrap wrapped panel. Then you have this nice big piri-piri screen straight from Portugal. And then below that you have a nice big hidden wireless charger. Now this is a nice wireless charger because there's not stuff you can put in there. It's strictly only for your phone. It's tucked very, very cleanly.
Okay, hold that thought, Mike, because I think I found a design flaw with this wireless charger. Let's throw it in there and let's launch.
Now, it's very minimal. There's not a ton of buttons in here compared to the last version. They've kind of gone with this minimalist feel. Then you have the start and stop in the middle, and then your independent drive modes. You've got sport, eco, mud terrain, all the stuff we expect out of a Range Rover. And then you have this cutie little shift knob over here for reverse, neutral drive, and then of course S for sport, a parking button, and your little volume. And I love the fact that the volume is nice and low here. It's not up here, it's not on the passenger side, it's right in the middle, left and right. Because you know what? It's 2023, and it's in the middle. Equality, baby. Equality. And moving down from there, you have this laser etched finish. It says first edition. That right here is baller. I slide it back. I have 2 big cup holders, and then I push and slide that back, and I have a ton of room underneath there. And that is where I have a USB-C and a full-size USB. Ooh, that's nice. They give you both. I love it. Underneath here, how about the feel of the top of this center armrest? It's firm. It will last probably the life of the vehicle, but I wish it was a little bit softer, if I'm being honest. I have a little compartment here, very soft compartment where I can put some coins, and then behind there is a full fridge. I have 2 increments of power when it comes to my fridge. It also has an air purification system to remove all the bacteria and allergens in the area, so you breathe pure, free air. But check out the display. That is what's cool. So let's take a dive into the infotainment screen of this Range Rover Sport. First and foremost is the cameras. As you see, it does have the dual shark fin on the back of it, and one of them is solely dedicated to the rear camera. The quality is really good. This is the 3D image of the car. Boom, you can see it. It's not the exact color, but hey, this color that they have is pretty awesome. And those wheels aren't the wheels that are on the car. This has the black package, but still, I'm super happy with what I see here with my eyes. There are different areas on this split screen on the left side here that you can choose if you really want to dive deep. However, when you're in the vehicle and you're driving, nobody really ever hits these individual buttons, unless of course you're just hitting the back button so you can see what's behind you. Then you have other buttons below, especially this one here. That is your clean the rear camera. That is cool. Let's clean it again. Now on the left side here is where you can choose your profile. Then you have your navigation, your phone, your music, and then of course your vehicle. So let's quickly show you what the navigation looks like. Nice and bright, very easy to use. Big letters. Again, very simple, very straightforward. Then you have your phone. Once you set it up, of course, it's going to show you on the screen. Then you have your music. It obviously does have, as I mentioned, wireless CarPlay and of course satellite radio, but nice and clean. I just really like the way Range Rover's products work in terms of infotainment software. Then you have your vehicle, which is laid out this way. So when I was pulling this thing into a car wash, this was a difficult screen for me to get into because it automatically auto brake holds. There's no buttons here to do it. You have to go into the menu to do it, along with your engine start and stop. And then you can set your ride heights, which is nice, off-road, normal, and access. When I close this off, then I have 2 more buttons on the bottom. This one here is basically little widgets that you can pick. This is where you can choose your accounts, of course, your different dynamic modes, your phone, really take a deep dive into it, including cabin lighting, Alexa, air quality, which I will show you because it's the coolest thing ever. Look at the colors here. It shows your parts per million, your exterior, and how to purify the air in the vehicle, and if you're breathing good air or not. Welcome to the back seat, more specifically, the best door panel in the car business today. And here's why. If we start at the top, look how much weatherproofing is around this door panel. There's tons to keep it super quiet in here. Then you have dual pane windows that are tinted for quietness. Then you have the sustainable leather right at the top of this door panel. Then you have textile trim that wraps around this Meridian 3D sound to give you extra sound dampness. And then from there, you have my favorite part, this forged carbon trim. Now it doesn't have a layer of epoxy or any sort of coating on top. It's actually blended into the carbon fiber and it's mixed together and then applied, which means it doesn't have this shiny layer on top. And then of course you have your little adjustments for your backrest. Now the seats don't move forward or back, they just go back in terms of where your back goes. And then you have this dark chrome all the way around. It's really, really nice. This is totally different than the last generation. The door handle was kind of difficult to find at first. I was kind of looking for it because it blends in so neatly and clean. And then of course you have your lock unlock, and then you have a little spot here to fit at least one large water bottle. And then of course ambient lighting, and then a nice little speaker grill. But this part right here, the mix of materials and the color that they've used matches really, really well. Now when I jump inside, like typical Range Rovers, I just don't always have a ton of legroom. Now in this specific one, of course I do, but all Range Rovers, pretty much since existence, the Range Rover Sports have always been really tight. I remember going to an auto show about 20 years ago with my dad, and I tried to get in the back of a Range Rover Sport autobiography, and the seats were like this thick. You couldn't get in, it was super tight. This one is decent, but I would say the seat is a little bit more further back now. I mean, sorry, forward back now. And I would say that if I was 6'2", I would probably be a little bit tight in terms of knee room, but headroom, lots of space. And I like the fact that there's visibility here. There's a lot of window, a lot of glass. Even the sunroof goes pretty much, or panoramic sunroof goes pretty much all the way back here to give me that open, airy feeling. There's of course a suede headliner that is nice and soft. I do have a vent here, a speaker, and then of course a handle with a map light, all built in as one unit as opposed to separate lights everywhere. As far as the seats go, again, this is sustainable leather, very soft to touch. They've made them so well nowadays that it doesn't feel anything like what plastic would feel like. People say, well, let's put in some imitation leather. Well, pretty much plastic, but this is not plastic. Feels really, really good. Now, it does have 4-zone climate control because this is the big boy first edition. I do have a little bit of storage space right behind each seat. It's nice and low, it's not high, it does not have any netting. It's just lower there and really designed for like magazines or so. How about a pass-through? Well, yes, I do have one right here, and then I do have this little button I push and then exposes some cup holders. But there is no wireless charging, and it's something that's expensive. You would think in the back here, as far as luxury goes, you would have a wireless charger in the back of this Range Rover. And that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, where are the USBs? They're here, but they're really hidden. The kids really have to crank their neck to see it. There is, of course, a full-out plug. It has 180 watts worth of power, and then underneath that, if I go all the way down here, there are 2 USB-Cs and then a cigarette lighter. Really, really far hidden underneath. As I said, you have to crank your neck. Now, in order to open up the tailgate of this Range Rover, there is a soft rubber button to the right of where the rear camera is. It's not dead center, it's to the right of that. I've got to hold it down. This opens up, and then there's a button on the back here to set the height of it. Most cars now have an extra button to be able to lock the vehicle when you walk away, but this has a fancy key that does it for you. Now, this is the height. It's fairly high, which is nice to have. Now, the thing about this Range Rover is it's different than the full size. The full size has a different tailgate that sort of came down, and then you could do one of these. You could pull this up, and they had this little contraption, so you could have basically like a tailgate party in the trunk of your Range Rover. But this one doesn't have it. This one simply has the same sort of design, but it just has this. This is likely to put sort of groceries, and then you have these little straps here, so if you do have water bottles and you have stuff from flying around like washer fluid, you can keep in this little area here. Now, you'd also like to know that there's a full-size spare tire that comes with this full-size Range Rover, and there's 3 little tags here. The first one, again, is to show you what this little seat looks like, and then the outer 2 are to pull the whole thing up. So when I do this, voila, you have a full size, and this is what the original rim looks like. This is a 23-inch rim versus the 22s that are on the winter tires that we have on this first edition. Because this is a $133,000 vehicle, of course, there are buttons everywhere. And this one is no different. Check out the buttons in the back. You've got these little buttons left and right. That is to raise and lower your air suspension. And then you have these little toggle switches that allow you to drop the back seats. Except this is a little bit different. You see, the full size we had, when I wanted to drop the back seats, they would drop very so slowly. But it would do one extra thing that this Range Rover does not do. This doesn't move the front seats forward for the back seats to go down. What this one does is it just tries to get the back seats to go down, and if the front seats are too far back, they'll just hit, and they'll try, and then just give up. Okay. You see? The passenger side did not move forward. So it is mated to an 8-speed ZF transmission that can decouple the front wheels from the back, so it can be primarily a rear-wheel drive to save on the fuelies. The fuelies, because people are wondering, why don't you just make your own V8? Why are you taking BMWs? And the answer is they are really focusing, like everybody else, on electrification. So they're putting all their money towards electrification. They're not really worried about making more or making another V8 for this specific product, but it doesn't matter because this is a great V8. Now the 0 to 60 times are important, but what's more important is that this, at about 40 miles or about 60 or 70 kilometers an hour, when you're on the throttle gently, it just pushes you like a train. That is what it's designed to do. The transmission is built for that type of movement. So how about steering? Well, it's very wallopy and very luxurious. Is it direct? Close enough. The one thing that kind of throws me off a little bit though is this rear wheel steering, because it feels that it's engaging at 50 miles an hour or 90 kilometers. It doesn't feel like 90 kilometers whatsoever. I feel like I can run fast in this speed. That's how, the perception of how it's built and how quiet it is and how luxurious it is and how it just like, you don't feel any bumps. But when you turn at a sort of a decent clip here, it feels like the back end's drifting a little bit. It doesn't feel like super, I wouldn't say stable. I would say it's just a sort of an uneasy feeling with this weirdness here of, you just feel like a boss driving this thing though. Because it is 2023 and you, big dog, have picked up your fancy first edition, you get a whole bunch of electronics that aid you in your driving comfort and your dynamics. So first things first, you get a 48-volt anti-roll control that helps you from rolling pretty hard. Then you have this crazy air suspension that can raise and lower, and you can wade and it's comfortable. I agree with that. And then of course you get that 7.3 articulation of the rear wheels with your rear wheel steering. And you can only get that in the first edition, by the way. You can't get it on any other model currently. You also get torque vectoring, which means when I am flying around a corner, the vehicle will actually brake part of the wheels. That is all done through electronic control, aka no mechanical system, except for disengaging the front and the back. I like that. So there we go. There's all your aid systems, my friend, with your fancy first edition. So one of the most glaring things about Range Rovers, and because I used to own one, well, ex-wife used to own one, I can tell you that the way it turns and the way it pulls around corners is just so unique. I feel like it's top heavy and the wheels want to pull you one direction and then it just catches up. And that's on pretty much every Range Rover Sport I've driven in the past. When I turn, it just feels completely different than a BMW X5 or a Cayenne or even the Japanese side or Korean side with the Genesis. It just feels totally different. There's just something about this where the steering and the feel, it's just like butter and smooth, and it's just designed for that type of person. So yeah, there's my review on the 2023 all-new Range Rover Sport. Hope you guys like this review. If you do, please smash the subscribe button. We need all the help we can get on our race to 1 million subs. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.